G'day everyone and welcome back to another One Piece deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at yellow Katakuri, one of the big three I'd say in OP06. Definitely what we've seen in the Japanese meta, Katakuri was definitely up there, and this build is designed to be nice and consistent. It is the more aggressive, I'd probably say leaning towards the better version of yellow in OP06. In OP05 I was in the opinion that Anel was the better version of yellow, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Katakuri in the OP06 format. The deck can play both a grindy and a bit of aggressive playstyle, which can be good depending on what the matchups you go into. A lot of the other bigger threats in OP06 can be a bit slow grindy, which Katakuri can apply a lot of pressure to overcome that, outbattle that. But let's have a look at Katakuri's effect for those that don't know. So Katakuri, mono yellow leader, 5,000 power, starts with a 5 life, Don times 1 when attacking. You can look at either the top of your life or the top of your opponent's life, and then you can put that life at the bottom or the top of whoever's you looked at it. This leader then also gains 1,000 power during the battle. So basically for 1 Don you can swing 7k, which is really nice. That pressure is really good. And then knowing exactly what's happening, mainly you want to check out your life at the beginning so you can kind of manipulate what's going on. You want to see some better triggers that'll help you late game at the bottom of your life so you can manipulate that. If you have some good triggers that'll help you early on, or if it's just 2k counters or missing pieces, they can all be found in your life there, so that's a really great resource. And then late game you want to figure out what your opponent has going into their hand in terms of counter, so that effect can be good there. Going into the mirror match as well, or other yellows, good to figure out what your opponent has coming up as well, so you're not running into any nasty triggers. With Katakuri you probably want to lean towards going first because you got some good one drop searches that can go there, get you nice early aggression as well. Starting off with the searches, we're running a full playset of Pudding. Pudding costs you 2,000 body, 1,000 counter on play. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck to reveal either a Sanji or a Big Mom types pirate card other than Pudding, and then put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So basically who you want to try and find with Pudding is the next searcher, which we'll talk about, as well as your Big Moms or your Sanji blocker. There is a 2k counter in the deck that is also searchable, but mainly you want to try and find your Big Moms. The next search that we have, we're running 3 copies of Perospero, cost you 3, 5,000 body, no counter unfortunately. And then on KO, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal a Big Mom types pirate card, add it to your hand, the rest go to the bottom of your deck in any order. It has a trigger, you can trash a card to play this card. So once again, we're going to be, if we can't find our Big Moms off the Perospero search, we're going to find a Pudding so we can then search for those Big Moms. Now, speaking of the Big Moms, let's talk about them. We're running a full playset of the starter deck Big Mom. 7 cost, 8,000 body, no counter. On play, your opponent either gives you a life or trashes their top life. Really great to see on curve. So if we're going first, we're hitting that 7 Don. Nice to see. And if we get multiple copies, also really nice to see your next turn, so on your 9 Don turn as well. We can apply a lot of great life pressure with this build without attacking life too much, but with the extra aggression of attacking life, yeah, it can sometimes be a bit too much for our opponent to deal with. And then we're also running a full playset of the big 10 cost at Big Mom. So it costs you 10, 12,000 body, no counter on play. Your opponent trashes their top life, and then you add a life from the top of your deck. And multiple Big Moms back to back is just absolutely insane. A lot of the time, I do like to be a bit more aggressive with Katakuri, so I only ever have the chance to play 1 Big Mom. Doesn't really make it too far beyond that most of the time. But otherwise, the long grindy games, getting multiple of these off is just going to guarantee you the win. Next, let's talk about the removal that we have access to. First of all, running a full playset of Gidatsu. This costs you 5, 6,000 body, 1,000 counter. On player, you can KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the total life that your opponent has. This is a great one to see on curve. So usually you want to go like your Pudding, Perospero, Gidatsu, your Big Mom into another Big Mom, and then to your 10 cost Big Mom. That's kind of like the ideal curve there. So if you know your opponent has some high cost characters that you definitely want to remove, you may want to hold off on swinging at their life so they have that 4 or 5 life right there to swing into. If you're not too concerned, you can take out little guys. So thinking of like Sakazuki, where they got their searches that they usually buff up, you can take care of them nicely. And then yeah, any of those decks that run those low cost characters is quite easy to get some good quality removal from there. The other card that we have as removal in the deck is a searchable one, which is Thunderbolt. Costs you 2. You got to trash the top card of your life, and then you can KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. And the trigger is to KO something with the cost of 5 or less. The trigger is really nice. That's usually where you want to see it. Sometimes towards the end game, if you just need to take out a blocker, if you have no other ways to take out a blocker, you can use that to take out the game. The other card that's kind of removable for us is we're running a full playset of Onami, new from OP06, costs you 2, 3,000 body, 1,000 counter. The on play is you can give one of your leaders or characters banish, which is really nice. Katakuri getting that extra 1k buff from its ability can make that banish be really good. So it is really good into other yellow decks. Absolutely insane. But the trigger is really where you want to see it. You can KO something with a cost of 5 or less. So similar effect to the Thunderbolt for that trigger, and yeah, it's just nasty all around card right there. Next, we'll have a look at another card that's great to play instead of the Gadatsu on that third turn is the Kikunojo. So just running 3 copies of this, costs you 4, 6,000 body, no counter on KO. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can recover a life from the top of your deck. The trigger is your opponent has 3 or less life, you can play this card. Really great all around card. Your opponent generally doesn't want to touch it because of that effect. Unless you're going against blue, then they can quite easily bottom deck it, so that effect is a bit harder to get off them. But otherwise, card that applies some great pressure. Next, let's talk about our 2k counters. So we're running a full playset of Amande. This is the searchable 2k counter, costs you 3,000 body, 2,000 counter. The activate main is once per turn you can trash a card with a trigger from your hand. We've got plenty of those, and we can rest one of our opponent's characters at the cost of 2 or less. Very rare for that effect to come up. Sometimes you just need to get rid of a small cost blocker. That's when this effect is really handy. Otherwise, just use as a 2k counter. There is argument that you can maybe switch this out for a full playset of Hayori from the super rare from OP06. We don't run any of those in this deck. Basically, Hayori costs 1 less, and you can manipulate your life a little bit more. So that on play is you get to add the top card of your life to your hand, then you can replace it with something from your hand, so it helps you manipulate that life there. I've chose to go with the Amande just because it is a searchable 2k counter. Sometimes you just need the extra counter in your hand, and when you do your search you don't find anything and you find Amande, at least you're adding something to your hand. But you can swap that out for Hayori if you would like. The next 2k counter we're running is Satori. Cost you 5,000 body. Trigger, trash a card to play this card. Just a nice body to get out of trigger. And we're also running a full playset of Capone. There, cost you 3,000 body. The trigger is one of your opponent's characters or leaders cannot attack during this turn. So that's a good one to have towards the end of your life. So 12 2k counters in the deck. For the last defensive option that we're running in the deck, we're running a full playset of Sanji. Cost you 4, 5,000 body, 1,000 counter. Is the only blocker of the deck. And the trigger, you can trash a card to play this card. Once again, Sanji is a searchable card, so that's really nice to have. Sometimes you just need a blocker off your search. And it coming out of life and trigger is also really good. So with Katakuri's effect, you can, if you see it in your life, you can manipulate it to a place where it'll better suit you. Right, going on to our game finishes, we're running 3 copies of Reject. Use it while we still can. Costs you 4. The effect is you choose either to KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, or if your opponent has 1 life, you can deal 1 life to your opponent, and then you add the top card of your life to your hand. So basically 1 for 1 in that life. Really good to close out some games. And the trigger is you can draw 1. So always just a great card to have. And then rounding us off, we're running 3 copies of Amaru. Cost you 2. Activate main. One of your leader characters gains 3,000 power during the turn. Then if you have 1 or less life, rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. That's the part that becomes the game finisher part of that. There's a lot of 4 cost blockers running around. So towards the end there, if you got that 1 life, you just need to get over an extra blocker. This card comes in handy and the buff's quite nice. The trigger is also really nice. You trash 2 cards from your hand to recover a life. So that's one you can manipulate towards the bottom of your life as well, just to ensure that you have an extra turn to survive. Alright, there is the deck in all of its glory. Let us know what you think of this. Do you think Katakuri is going to take out a lot of events in OP06? Let us know in the comment section down below. But thank you so much for checking out the video. Stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.